All right, let's turn our attention to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Munaf, one of the biggest and probably most important positions in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization has always been the tight end position, right? Nothing
Yeah.
says Pittsburgh Steelers than a good, hard-nosed tight end. Well, Pat Friermuth was that guy for them for the last couple of seasons, right? Everybody loves them some Muth, but now they've got Jonu Smith, who might be able to steal some looks away from Pat Friermuth. And again, as we look at what these teams are doing at tight end, it's like they're double stacking on an already pretty much packed position. I mean, often in Pittsburgh, we're going to see some two tight end sets because they like to run the ball. And so now if you've got two, I suppose, fantasy relevant and receiving threats at the position, what does that do to us as we start to draft? And which one do we pick?
So I think the conversation also ties in very nicely at the wide receiving group there as well, right? Because we know they traded for DK Metcalf to come in and be that number one guy. They traded away George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. Calvin Austin III has shown some flashes. Robert Woods has started to bounce around a little bit. But they don't have a true number two guy in my eyes. And I could be completely wrong about the Steelers here. But so what does that tell me? That you brought in Jonu Smith here for a reason, like you mentioned, right? Because they like to run the football. So you may see a lot, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Rod, that two tight end sets that both Pat Friermuth and Jonu Smith may have a significant impact in this offense for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Now, Steelers traditionally in their history haven't been a team that's going to go out there and score 4+ touchdowns in a game. They like to win those 17-14, those 17-10 type of games, the 21-20 type of games. But that could change now with Aaron Rodgers. And I think that I would look, if you're looking to stash some tight ends, I think you draft both of these guys. We saw what Jonu Smith when we talked about the AFC last week and how much he flourished in a stretch there with the Miami Dolphins last year, that Mike McDaniels came out and said that he was going to be an integral part of their offense. And he ended up doing that because there were moments for Jonu Smith. There was a stretch there where he looked really, really good. And he was scoring touchdowns. He scored a touchdown for the final weeks that he played last season for the Miami Dolphins. So he could be a guy that could be a big red zone threat for the Steelers team here at Rod. I hate to take the cop-out answer and take both of these guys there, but we know what exactly what you mentioned, that they have put an emphasis on the tight end position, and Pat Friermuth, maybe still waiting to get to a 900,000 yard season and maybe rack up the touchdowns here. But I think that there's an opportunity for both these guys in this offense. And don't be surprised if you see a lot of sets where both of these guys are out on the field here, because we did see Pat Friermuth last season, 650 plus receiving yards, 78 targets, 65 receptions, and also had 7 receiving touchdowns there as well. And Jonu Smith last season, I want to say, was right on that number or very, very close to it. I think he had 2, 4, 6, 8 touchdowns last season. Yeah. So I think there's an argument you could make to draft both these guys for your team, honestly.
Yeah, and honestly, that's exactly what it is too. Both of them come in as the second highest targeted or pass catcher rather on their team. On the Dolphins last year, it was Tyreek Hill. Then it was Jonu Smith. Believe it or not, obviously Jalen Waddle was third on that list, but Pat Friermuth right after George Pickens was the most targeted, and like you said, Munaf, it was 7 touchdowns for Friermuth, 8 touchdowns for Smith, and 668 yards for Friermuth, 884 yards for Jonu, 111 targets for Smith, 88 receptions. So I think you're safe if you want either one of these guys, because I think both of them are going to get their fair share of work. Pat Friermuth going off right now as the consensus 191 overall in a standard league. In a PPR, 184. Tight end 20 in a PPR, tight end 23 in a standard league. Jonu Smith is actually, now that he's with the Steelers, I don't know how much this is actually impacted, but he's overall 109, tight end 8. And then tight end 11 in a PPR. So I don't know if, they're thinking that Jonu Smith is going to be the main tight end weapon now, taking Friermuth's spot and drafting him higher, or maybe these are numbers held over from when he was with the Dolphins because they knew how much of an integral part he was. So I'll be interested to keep an eye on this ADP and see where it shakes out in the next few weeks as people start to draft pretty hot and heavy as we now just got past the Hall of Fame game.